Welcome to Millennium Motorcycles. Today we're going to review the brand new Royal Enfield Bear 650. As I've mentioned in previous reviews, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an engineer. So all the tech information that I'm going to give you today is that I've gained off Google, off the Royal Enfield website. So if I give you anything that's incorrect, there's my disclaimer right there. I'm going to welcome comments on this bike. What do you think of the styling? So this is a road scrambler. So it's not designed for full off-road use, and I totally get that. Your off-road bikes have got their place. You know, you're looking at something like the BMW or the Vosges. This, I'd say it's more like light gravel than off-road. I wouldn't want to, because of the sheer weight of the bike, I wouldn't want to be doing too much bouncing around and taking any chances. You'll also notice that the exhaust runs quite low, so your ground clearance is not as much as you would get on one of the more adventure style bikes that are designed specifically for that purpose. Now, it's got off-road, slightly off-road tyres. When we take it for a ride, I'll let you know what that feels like. I'm sure if it's not your preference, you could change those tyres. It's entirely up to you. Let's start at the front of this bike. We've got a 19-inch front wheel, spoked wheel, tubeless, I do believe. Not quite sure how they've managed that, but it is a tubeless tyre. And then we're moving on to the upside-down shower forks. The reason they're upside down, most bikes are nowadays, most modern bikes, it gives better road handling, better under braking and into the corners, and it just makes the bike a lot more stable. Now, for the first time in Royal Enfield history, they have gone full LED on all the lights. And then moving backwards slightly, you can see we've got an oil and air-cooled engine. It's a parallel twin. You'll see there the exhaust is 2 into 1. I actually think that's quite a nice looking exhaust, if I'm honest. I like the black. I like the matte black look. I think it's beautiful. Not a lot of chrome on this bike, so it's going to be quite easy to keep it clean and stop it looking aged. It's the scrambler style, quite a nice retro styling, I think. Lovely Royal Enfield emblem there on the seating. And moving on to the rear light setup. I'm not sure about this, if I'm honest. I'm going to imagine it's going to be quite visible when you're out on the road. There's just something about it that I don't like, but that's just personal preference, I suppose. So, rear suspension, and we've got a disc brake, anti-lock brakes, disc brake on the front, disc brake on the back, 17-inch wheel on the back. We've got semi-off-road tyres. They're not too knobbly. It's a chain drive. Now, as I forgot to mention when we come around this side, you'll notice, unlike a traditional scrambler, the exhaust is quite low down. And the reason for this is because of the road element. I wanted it to be easier to carry a pillion on the back. Gorgeous petrol tank. Beautiful shape. Look at the lines. I think it's a lovely looking bike. Ladies out there, you're going to be wondering, as I do, when I look at motorbikes, how heavy is this bike? How easy is it to get this bike upright? Okay, so the bike is made of metal. Not much plastic on this bike. It's not a light bike. I've got to say, it is quite a weight. Due to the weight of the bike, the manoeuvrability is going to be limited, especially if you're like me and you can just touch the floor when you're sat on this bike. I can't really push this bike backwards whilst I'm sat on it. I'm going to have to manoeuvre the bike whilst I'm stood at the side. It's okay. I can rest it against my hip. That's not going to be a problem. But it is a concern that I have every time I'm reviewing a bike. Now, moving on to the important stuff. Okay, this little clock here is what Royal Enfield are calling their Tripper Dash. Now, a lot of bikes have a big TFT screen. There's a lot of information to look at on the screen. I'm quite fascinated by this little clock. It's a little retro round clock. Right? There's a lot of information on there. But by all accounts, it does have sat-nav. it connects to your phone. It uses Google. You can control everything with this little button here. Unfortunately, I can't connect it to my phone today for obvious reasons. Once you've bought this bike and you connect your bike to your phone, the two are then linked. You do need to register with the Royal Enfield app. We will go out for a ride though, and I will talk to you about what I can see on the screen. Maybe I can get a good camera angle. We can show it you then. The bike comes in 4 distinct colour styles. You can view all 4 here at Millennium in St Helens. If you like to personalise the bike, don't worry. There are a whole load of extras that you can add to the bike. Let's take a look. Let's take it for a ride. So here we are with the Royal Enfield Interceptor Bear 650 on a test ride. So the first thing I noticed is the ride position. So fairly upright ride. Legs are bent 90 degrees, there or thereabouts. So what I have noticed is that this clutch, it bites immediately. There's not that much play in the clutch before it starts to move the bike. Once you've got used to that, it's not a problem. The indicator's in a nice position. The switch to toggle through the clocks is just below the indicator. So we're out here in the countryside and thoroughly enjoying this little ride. I say a little ride because the bike is a heavy bike, you know, at standstill. It's, you know, you have to really, from my point of view, obviously I'm 5'6.5", female, and I really have to give it some oomph to upright the bike. And I feel like it's quite a weighty bike. It's heavier than the adventure bike that I ride, than the NC 750. But for some reason, now it's on the road, it feels so much lighter. So much lighter. Does not feel like a weighty bike at all. The tyres, I don't feel are an issue on the road. I was concerned that the tyres might be a bit of an issue with them being slightly off-road tyres. They're really not. Ride position of this bike. It's a nice upright ride position. I'm angled slightly forward, so that means that there is a little bit of weight on the wrists. I can feel it slightly. It's not something that's really bothering me at this point. So I can't actually show you whilst I'm riding, but what I have noticed is that the brake lever, or the brake pedal, I'm actually catching the arm of the brake pedal. It's just set ever so slightly too far out. And this goes also for the gear shift. Set a little bit too far out, so I'm actually catching the arm of the gear shift instead of the rubber. I think it's something that, with a bit of riding, you would get used to. As far as the ride goes, considering that this is such a heavy bike, the ride is particularly nimble. It's really, really quite enjoyable. The bike feels manoeuvrable. It tells you when to change gear. We've got 6 gears. It tells you when to change gear. It tells you when to change down gear. It's lovely. Really, really lovely. The display on the clocks quite clearly displays the speed you're going and the revs. Let's go for an overtake here if we can. Not bad at all. Not the fastest bike in the world. A lot of wind drag. But it is a naked bike. It's not faired. There's no screen. You wouldn't want a screen on it either. And what I have noticed is that potholes are very smooth potholes, if that makes sense. You know, we're here in the UK. Potholes is something we've come to expect. And it just takes them with ease. I don't feel like I'm being jolted. I don't feel like there's any issue. I have to say, this bike, it's lovely. It's not aggressive. It's not soft. It's just, it's so easy. Would I take this bike off-road? No. I don't think I would take this bike off-road. I think corners well. It's quite a short bike, so it's easy into the corners. It's got enough straight line power to satisfy most people. Opening up on the dual carriageway. It's not going to blow your socks off. But you're not buying it for that, are you? It's not the reason for it. The bike feels nice and sturdy. Good spring. Noticed at 60 miles an hour on the dual carriageway, there isn't much to deflect the wind at all. You are catching the wind like a parachute. Quite noticeable. But again, you're not going to buy this bike if you're not expecting that. I will say is it's quite a firm seat. It's very flat seat. From a woman's point of view, I'm actually sitting on the sit bones, so rather than being slid forwards, it is a firm seat. I wouldn't like to do 100 miles on this seat, but it's nothing that a seat pad can't fix. I'm changing down the gears. Going up to a roundabout. Smooth as silk. There's no jerk, no pull. Really, quite a pleasant little ride. This is my first time really riding a scramble bike, and I haven't watched any other reviews, so really I had no expectation. I didn't know what to expect, didn't know what it would ride like, and I've got to say, I'm quite enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. had this bike out for a ride for about 30 minutes. We've done some dual carriageway around town, country roads, and I've got to say I was really surprised. I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't have any expectation for the bike. It's the first time really I've ridden a scrambler, so I can't compare it to any other scrambler, but I was expecting something different to what I got. Now, it's a heavy bike, and it was light, it was manoeuvrable, it was nimble, the suspension was smooth, the gear change was smooth, changing down gears was just smooth. So if you're looking for a scrambler with the name Royal Enfield, something a little bit special on a budget, I don't think you can go far wrong. I mean, there's some minor issues, some minor tweaks. It's nothing that you're not going to get used to. I enjoyed it. It was a nice bike, nice little ride. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more bikes or take a test ride, visit Millennium Motorcycles here in St Helens. If you'd like to see more of me, subscribe to my TikTok, Instagram or YouTube. Love you, bye.